Hi Ariane, this is Tony doing your critique on white balance and ISO. Okay, looking at your first shot here, I can see over in the photo details over here that you're using a Canon Rebel T3i. What a nice camera, really wonderful camera to work with. This first shot looks like your shutter speed's maybe around a half second or almost like a full second. So perhaps this was on a tripod or a pretty steady place, but that's a tough kind of thing to try and hand hold. So make sure that you're shooting your ISO. I can see you're shooting your ISO here at 800. I noticed the other ones are even up to 3200. So the whole idea would be definitely shoot your ISO high enough so that your shutter speed is going to be somewhere around a 50th or a 60th of a second to eliminate as much camera shake as possible in whenever you're in low light. But in terms of your white balance looks fantastic. Okay, next shot. Okay, and I'm assuming this was a little girl, but great shot. But you can see over here in your exposure, an eighth of a second. You're steady, but she's moving around a little bit. So by all means, I'm looking at your focal length here. So it's a little bit on the telephoto side. Your aperture of f4. I noticed that in the one right before here, let's see, your aperture is 4.5. I'm not sure exactly what lens you might have, but if you can open that, if you have one of the lenses where you your maximum aperture is like at f2.8, you definitely want to make sure you take advantage of opening up your aperture to like f2.8, f4 to give you as much light to let you be able to shoot as fast as you possibly can. In a situation like this, ISO speed of 800 is a little on the slow side. You could bump that up to like you did on your last shot. There's 3200. Bump that up and be able to open up your aperture so that it's at 4 or 2.8, whatever your maximum aperture might be. And then you'll be able to stop some action here. But otherwise, on that shot of the little girl, white balance and everything looked great. This is a beautiful shot. Great, great portrait shot. You can see that shallow depth of field, so it's at like aperture of f4, and you can see back here that it's softer back there, but that his glasses are sharp and his face is sharp. That really adds to a snap, to a certain pop that really separates him from the background. ISO of 1600, that's great. That's but you're still in at a 13th of a second. I'm assuming the camera has a little some stabilization, but you don't always want to count on that because your subject might be moving, even though you might be steady. So definitely want to, whenever you're shooting people, definitely want to shoot at least at a 50th or 60th of a second. That would be what I would recommend. And so adjust your ISO up a little higher for those kinds of situations. But white balance on here looks fantastic. Looks perfect. Okay, same thing on this shot right here. She's moving around a little bit. And you can see at a 10th of a second, you might be able to hold it steady with the camera stabilization and everything. But she's moving around, so make sure when you're in really low light situations like that, 1600, bump that up to 3200, even 6400. Don't be afraid of any kind of noise. You can see this is really comes out quite nice. You can see there's a mix of light sources here too. Whatever kind of light source you were, there's an overhead light source which kind of gives her kind of this warmish look, and then there's another light source that's kind of giving it a little bit more neutral look coming from the front. Those kinds of mixed light sources is always hard to do a white balance, but in this case right here, whatever you used worked out just fine. Okay, in this case, looks a little on the blue side. If you're inside and it's light coming in from the outside, it's hard, I can't really tell. Normally it shows up under exposure bias here, what might the white balance be. But once again, ISO speed of 800, trying to hand hold that, while you have a subject that's not moving. So this might work out okay. But you can see that if this was neutral, okay, you can see like maybe in this phone right here, I'm assuming this is white. It's looking a little bit on the bluish side. So maybe if it's, you might want to set your, experiment with that and set your white balance to something, like shade or whatever. I'm assuming that might be light coming in from a window. I don't really know what your light source is here. This is nice, and whatever kind of light source is here, kind of a nice warmish light. Works really well with the shot of the cat here. Looks really beautiful. Once again, it says it's 1/10 of a second. That's, I'm assuming that your cat was sitting still and you were hand holding it. But your ISO at 1600, that's great. You can even bump it up a little bit higher. White balance looks great. And then here, this shot at 3200, ISO 3200. You can see how clean that white balance is on that. Whatever your light source was here, you balanced this very nicely with whatever white balancing you were working with. So, and you can also see here in this one, it says you're using an aperture of f8, which actually you could probably open that up a little bit more at 4 or 2.8 or whatever. And now it says you're shooting at a 200th of a second, so you have significantly more light when in this kind of situation. So by all means, you definitely want to be able to work with what you have. So in this case right here, you're definitely stopping the action at a 200th of a second with her. But you also have more light to work with. In terms of the white balancing and the ISO, everything looks great. Great job. And thanks very much.